Hey, good morning. Is it not a gorgeous day outside? My goodness, not a cloud in the sky, just a little bit of a breeze. Going to be like 86 here today. I just needed to warm up just a tad for old Brooks to go swimming. How was everyone this weekend? I missed you guys. Good morning, True Crime Beat. Nufflin's in the house. There's my girl Melanie. It's actually hotter where she is in Oklahoma than me. V. Oakley said it's too freaking hot. Kat said humid as hell here. Well, I got a few words for you. Deodorant and vinegar and water. And I think you know where everything goes, because when it becomes a swamp fest, woo, girls, it's uncomfortable. There's my girl Shonda. She said, it is time to clean the damn pool out. Shonda, right there, she said, too hot for titties. Too much. I see some new names in here. So happy you are here. There is so much going on in this case. It's impossible to keep up. This pop-up search that happened over the weekend really took me aback. Not saying that the police did anything wrong. I'm just confused as to why, where this boot print was, they decided to do another search there. I'm just going to assume they're crossing their T's and dotting their I's. Well, let's take a second and tell everyone good morning. And also, I want to give a very, very sincere thanks to everyone that was here on Friday for Harmony Montgomery. Now, I say it quite often, but I can tell you, we know that there's a lot going on YouTube. There is a lot of stuff going on the internet. But when you take time out of your day to talk about a little girl that people just can't stomach thinking about what happened to her, well, it tells me all I need to know about you, which I know every day. You are incredible. So let's take a second and tell everyone good morning. If you are new here, Walking Dead, don't screw with me. Well, go ahead, it's funny. If you are new here, throw a 1 in the chat, because we want to get to know you, and we want you here every morning. All right. And even though it's my channel, okay, I do not know what all these numbers are, except for the ones that the people that are here every morning are putting in. You smart asses. Kelly Holcomb is new. Walking Dead, we'll just call her new every day. Carrie G, she's new. And she's like, what, a 10-month member, 3-year member? But I don't know what these numbers are. Like next to Joanne Lane, it says number 2. Now, I don't think that means Joanne needs to go number 2. What does that mean? Does that mean second person in chat? Kat probably knows. Esty said, I just saw a horrible report about the search. I hope it isn't true. Really? Because I haven't seen it. I have not seen that. Where did that come out at? Like an actual news station or a YouTuber? Because there's a big difference. I mean, I'm talking it's 2 football fields away different. ST Kane said it's on TikTok. Okay, same difference, but thank you for bringing it up.
The search for the missing Sullivan siblings, Lily and Jack, will resume in the morning. Police announced they'll be joined by ground search and rescue teams to once again head into wooded areas. They're going to focus specifically on areas around Garlick Road and the nearline Pipeline Trail near the family's home. It's also where a boot print was found in earlier searches.
Okay, so the boot print has been verified. So when some people are saying things like there's no boot print, obviously there is. Just like some people are saying Daniel didn't pass the polygraph test. How do you know? They said he did. But this search, it really kind of made my stomach hurt because I thought they must have gotten a tip or found something in their evidence and they're going to go straight to Lily and Jack.
Focus specifically on areas around Garlick Road and the nearline Pipeline Trail near the family's home. It's also where a boot print was found in earlier searches. The 4- and 6-year-olds have been missing for a month. Earlier this week, RCMP revealed video exists of the children with the family, and that video was taken before they vanished.
All right, so right there on CBS Nova Scotia, they're saying that it's not a rumor. Daniel didn't make it up. Police didn't make it up. They said that them being seen on May 1st, which was on a Thursday, the day before they disappeared, was found by CCTV. All right, so this is what Daniel had to say. And I'm finding him, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. It's really okay, especially in these cases. Just like I was wrong right there. I said CBS because I'm used to saying CBS because I live in America. Dawn said no, it's CBC, Nova Scotia. Thank you. Got True Crime Beat in here trying to figure out what the crown thing is by her name or someone's name. Thank you, True Crime Beat. Kylie said, I've never used a super chat. Well, try it out. So we see what Daniel's got to say. Because today, man, I'm behind on my days. I'm all screwed up. Good thing I have a calendar right here. Today's a month since these babies have gone missing, my friends. Today is a month. My goodness. Where are they? Where can they be? Cat OG said, the numbers are YouTube gaslighting us to chat more. Well, then chat away. Don't let them down, man. Thanks, Cat. for the super sticker. You are awesome. So let's see what Daniel has to say.
It's been 4 weeks since Daniel Martell has seen his stepchildren. 6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan were reported missing Friday, May 2nd, after they wandered out of their Pictou County home. They have not been found after weeks of extensive searching the heavily wooded area.
Every day when I wake up, it just feels like I'm reliving a nightmare of May 2nd. But the main feelings of from sadness have just turned to anger because there's no evidence as of after 1 month, and it's really taken a toll.
On Friday, RCMP say ground search and rescue crews and police will return to the area this weekend, focusing on a nearby pipeline trail where a boot print was previously located.
I know that they're working hard and they're using every resource they have, and it makes me hopeful because that's all we have at this point is just hope.
A vigil of flowers and stuffed animals has grown in recent weeks outside the RCMP station in nearby Stellarton. Since May 2nd, when Lily and Jack went missing, people here in Pictou County are still struggling to understand what happened and why there are still no answers.
Every day, almost, I go by the RCMP, and it's just so tragic, just so tragic. You know, I just feel so bad for their whole family. I'm hoping that they find them.
Okay, I put a poll up because I want you guys to weigh in. This is where I'm at with this case. Not that my opinion matters because I don't work for the RCMP. They haven't found anything. Now, in the 911 call, they found a blanket to which the mama said is Lily's blanket. Turns out not to be. But I mean nothing. If Jack was in a diaper, there would be some remnants of a diaper somewhere, don't you think? There's got to be something somewhere, and it can't be that far away. But considering the terrain, look how long it took them to find that guy, Justin McDonald. And he's a grown-ass man. He's like 34 years old. His daddy kept searching and came across him. Horrible, horrible. Exactly, V. Oakley. It would eventually fall apart. So with the terrain, the crisscross trees, everything from Hurricane Fiona, it might be a little harder than the basic mind that I have to actually find them. Let's go back to what Daniel said. I didn't spend enough time on that.
It's been 4 weeks since Daniel Martell has seen his stepchildren. 6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan were reported missing Friday, May 2nd, after they wandered out of their Pictou County home. They have not been found after weeks of extensive searching the heavily wooded area.
Every day when I wake up, it just feels like I'm reliving a nightmare of May 2nd. But the main feelings of from sadness have just turned to anger because there's no evidence as of after 1 month.
I can get where he's coming from. Sadness has turned to anger because there's absolutely no evidence after 1 month. I would be really upset too. He also, in this interview, actually that was printed in an article, he said he's passed the polygraph. He's fully cooperating, so people need to get off his back. Okay. Does anyone really blame him for saying that? Where's the mama? Okay? Where's Malaya? Why is she not out trying to find her children? She should know their routine, where they like to play, where they like to hide. Or at the very least, advocating for her children one way or another. Putting up flyers, going on TV. Maybe it's too traumatic for her. Because I really don't know how I would react. I'd probably be in the bed. I'd probably be in the bed. So when Daniel is saying, look, I took a polygraph, I passed the polygraph. So everybody needs to get off my back because I'm the one talking. But there is way more to this story than meets the eye, because they live what many of us would call a high risk lifestyle. Okay? You have to admit that their house is probably not safe for children. Their friends, it has been rumored they have some very unsavory friends. One thing I want to say is, after our last show, many people reached out and said, Cody Sullivan is not the same Cody that people have been talking about that has to go back to court in October. Now, I can't verify that on my own. So for now, I'm just not going to say anything if Dad has some kind of legal issue going on. For now. Because everything about that area where the children live looks very unsafe. We know last week many people were arguing about the sliding glass door. Piss on it. Listen, if the only thing they took care of on that property is keeping that sliding glass door well oiled, well, then that is just another nail in their coffin. Okay?
And it's really taken a toll.
On Friday, RCMP say ground search and rescue crews and police will return to the area this weekend, focusing on a nearby pipeline trail where a boot print was previously located.
I know that they're working hard and they're using every resource they have, and it makes me hopeful, because that's all we have at this point is just hope.
A vigil of flowers and stuffed animals has grown in recent weeks outside the RCMP station in nearby Stellarton. Since May 2nd, when Lily and Jack went missing, people here in Pictou County are still struggling to understand what happened and why there are still no answers.
Every day, almost, I go by the RCMP, and it's just so tragic. Just so tragic. You know, I just feel so bad for their whole family. I'm hoping that they find them.
It just doesn't look good, but I hope I'm wrong.
The warden of Pictou County says many.
Yep, he spoke out. People are leaving gifts and things like that. Kat said, let's face it, they would have taken more care of the door than their kids. That's how it appears. Ashley said the four-wheeler pretty clean as well. You notice that with all the mud and the junk and the terrain they keep talking about? Yeah, priorities. Priority 101 is what we're talking about.
Many people are on edge, and children are worried about playing outside.
I think it's mostly a mood of anxiety, maybe, and frustration. They too can't believe that there's not an answer by this long and this many people looking.
The RCMP have confirmed Lily and Jack were seen on camera with family the day before they went missing. Police are asking anyone who was on Gairloch Road between April 28th and May 2nd to share their dash cam or other footage with RCMP. Martel.
The April 28th through May 2nd blows my mind. Blows my mind. That's days before they disappeared, and they want dash cams. Now, people have dash cams for all kinds of different reasons. Some people have those GoPros because they're out on four-wheelers. Some people have them just to get a lower rate on their insurance. Some are truck drivers where everything has to be recorded. What makes zero sense to me about this case is, well, I don't exactly have the gift of sleep, so I can't lay my ass in the bed till 10 a.m., especially knowing I got babies up that want to eat, get dressed, play, watch TV, whatever have you, you know, clean up the house, do the dishes from the night before. That's just not me. And you've got 2 grown-ups in this bedroom with a baby, but the other kids are not allowed to come in. Why? That is something we haven't spoke about on here before. Why was the bedroom off limits to Lily and Jack? If you want to sleep that bad, tell them, say, get in bed, lay down, we're going to turn on a movie, and that's it. Can they not put them in their room? Or how about this? You just get your ass up out of bed and you take care of the kids. So what is it? A friend of Daniel's said that Daniel does more for the kids than Malaya ever thought to do. So why was he so adamant to send Lily and Jack out of the room? Is this, go sit on the couch, dude. You both don't need to be sleeping in. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Especially since they were taken out of school Thursday and Friday. They went tooling around on Thursday. So obviously the kids weren't that sick. Then you have Friday morning. Tooling around's over. Get them ready for school. Was Jack supposed to change his own diaper? I don't get it. I don't get it. So let's go to, we just watched that. Let's go to a former interview of Daniel's. And don't worry, I got time for Malaya today too.
6 days after 6-year-old Lily Sullivan and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan disappeared from their home in rural northeastern Nova Scotia, the RCMP announced today their search for the 2 siblings is being scaled back, saying there's little chance they are alive. The CBC's Blair Rhodes joins us now live from the search area in Pictou County with the latest. Blair.
Tom, the mood here was solemn as the searchers were told that despite their best efforts, they were scaling back the search. Before the news conference, RCMP told Jack and Lily's family, their stepfather, Daniel Martel, said he's not.
Joe Law said, why do people think a pull-up is a diaper? Believe it or not, there weren't pull-ups when my kids were babies. Okay? There weren't. So it was just like different sizes of diapers. So I think for people of my generation, it's just called a diaper. It serves the same purpose, you know. Now, I'm not going to call it, I mean, sometimes older people wear them. They're called adult diapers. But let's just say he'd had that pull-up on all night. Nobody got up to change it. It'd be full, wouldn't it? And if he can pull it up and down, the question is, did he honestly, if this is for nighttime use, did he take it off and put on underwear? They said, their words, not mine, they said he was in a diaper. I was not there. They said he was last in a diaper. And they saw that their rubber boots were gone. Sad. Sad as fuck.
Not giving up.
I'm still holding out hope. I don't know why they didn't find anything from Jack's pull-up to her backpack or any of her belongings at all. They just haven't found anything.
I agree with Daniel. Now, mind you, this is weeks ago. He's much more nervous, from what I'm gathering, in this interview. Much more nervous. Much more nervous. But he's like, I don't know why they haven't found any evidence. Her backpack, his pull-up, because whatever you want to call it, they deteriorate. You pee in them and they start to deteriorate unless you put a clean one on. Pull-up or the ones you fasten around the hips. Doesn't matter. And the material inside the pull-up is still diaper material. So he's 100% right. How come they haven't found anything like his pull-up? Well, it makes you wonder, does it not?
Still holding out hope. I don't know why they didn't find anything from Jack's pull-up to her backpack or any of her belongings at all. They just haven't found anything.
Okay, now I have another question. I'm really not trying to question the parents too much. If you're laid up in the bed and Jack and Lily can't come in because you want to sleep in, how do you know what they had on? Because you saw them earlier in the day? That's very confusing to me. So when you started getting the crust out of your eyes at 8 a.m. and telling the kids don't come in here, just because Lily had her backpack on there. I mean, I guess it's just process of elimination. The backpack's gone and she had it on, so she must have it with her. But did we account for all of Jack's clothes? Did he really go outside in just an overnight diaper and some rubber boots? Well, then where the hell could they be?
Now, while the family may have some hope, the police say that after 6 days of often extreme conditions, the children were still in the woods, they wouldn't be alive. So now they said it came down to a question of survivability.
And a number of factors would have to take consideration, and they would, based upon scientific information that they have, to deem when that time has to come, and that is now. And a lot of those factors come into play would be the age of the missing persons, the weather, how long it's been, what area has been covered. So at that point, they have to make a decision on that.
Now, from the very beginning, they described this disappearance as suspicious. That's standard in missing persons cases like this. Today, we were asking the police, because the major crime unit has been part of this investigation since the weekend, as to whether they could elaborate on that. But they didn't want to answer questions about whether they had detected any criminal activity in connection with this.
When somebody goes missing and we become engaged as any police officer, not just major crime, we will look at all the details and make considerations on the information we have, right? When it comes to a missing person, we have to automatically consider those, are there people that have different charter implications and things like that? So we will automatically start to consider what evidence is pointing us towards a suspicious in nature. Again, I can't comment more than that, but every missing person case, we would approach it from the same process. A methodical collection and review of information with decisions based on that.
Okay. Woo. Woo. He's basically explaining their whole procedure. Of course, we're going to be suspicious. There's 2 kids missing. Of course, we're going to be methodical. Yes, we're going to be looking for the children, but we also have to figure out why they're missing. They're 6 and 4. Now, if this is going to get me in trouble for saying this, if this is a garden variety child abuse situation, normally the abuse is heaped on just one. Now, I haven't seen any pictures that they look malnourished, beat up, heads shaved, nothing like that. 2 kids that are supposedly being noisy outside, and the parents get up when they don't hear them anymore. How come you can't wake up the uncle? How come you can't wake up the grandma? How come the grandma told Malaya to get the hell out, even though she's lived there for 3 years and her kids went missing from her property? That in itself is sketch, sketch, sketch. Let's listen to him again.
On that, but they didn't want to answer questions about whether they had detected any criminal activity in connection with this.
When somebody goes missing and we become engaged as any police officer, not just major crime, we will look at all the details and make considerations on the information we have, right? When it comes to a missing person, we have to automatically consider are there people that have different charter implications and things like that? So we will automatically start to consider what evidence is pointing us towards a suspicious in nature. Again, I can't comment more than that, but every missing person case, we would approach it from the same process, a methodical collection and review of information with decisions based on that.
Now, when police say they're scaling back, what they mean by that is they will be going back over some of the areas they've already searched, taking another look to see if there's anything they missed. Tom?
All right, Blair, thanks.
Okay, so that was weeks ago when they said they're going to go back over to make sure there's something they wouldn't miss. That's possibly what was going on over the weekend. Checking the trail by the pipeline where the original print was found. Remember, they've had a lot of rain and everything. I don't know that the print would even still be there. I couldn't imagine it. And then I think about, they talk about the terrain, and how, awful it is to get through. So how much do you have to stomp to make a footprint? SD Kane said they're passing their polygraphs, so maybe it's all three. First they wandered off, and then bam, bam. I've only heard about one polygraph, and that's Daniel's. And if you're new here, I'm going to let you in on a secret. I don't care about polygraphs. I don't care about them. Because people that are guilty of sin have passed them. People that are as innocent as a newborn baby have failed them. I can give you so many examples, it'll make your head spin. Grandma's behavior, who is Daniel's mom, is very concerning to me. Because, of course, tensions are going to be tight. Of course, people are going to be anxious and angry and scared and crying and upset. I mean, you name the emotion. But for her to throw Malaya out and say, take your baby with you, which is Daniel's baby as well, that really tells me it was no bueno around there. Wouldn't you have a little bit of compassion considering two of your children are missing? Britt, bingo. Daniel did say he wished everyone would do a poly. Everyone. We have never heard where Grandma was. We have never heard where Uncle was. Everybody asleep? I don't know. This is from Evil Exists. He put this together, and it's about Malaya's red flags. I think we can agree with most of this.
Jack and Lily Sullivan are sadly still missing, and there are no solid leads yet, as the search continues based on how the investigation progresses basically. I believe that foul play is involved, and that the mother and stepdad knows way more than they're saying. The mother's behavior should never be overlooked, as she is actually making us question her actions more and more by the day. In this video, I want to discuss her behavior from the beginning, and you can read.
What concerns you the most about Malaya's attitude and, well, just where we are now? Is it the fact that she's only spoken once? Is it that when she was thrown out, Daniel did not go with her? Is it that obviously she told Daniel that their baby was with CPS, and when he went there to see his child, as if they keep babies in the back, he was told they can't discuss anything with him. But then his aunt verifies, Cody's aunt verified that the baby is is with her.
Reason whether that is the actions of an innocent parent. Malaya left the last place her children were seen at and moved out almost immediately after they were reported missing. She did one media interview, which sounded heavily scripted and rehearsed, with barely any emotion for her missing children. She blocked the stepdad on social media, even though he is the only one keeping the children's faces and story in the media. Her family started playing the blame game immediately, blaming Daniel for the children's disappearance. She then went on Facebook, not to advocate for her children, but to rather change her relationship status from in a relationship to single, and to add more Facebook friends.
She did do that. She did do that. And I just love when people have to prove their point with damn Facebook. Blows my mind. Your children are missing. You go to your mama's house after getting kicked out by Daniel's mama. And what do? You start adding more people on Facebook and change your relationship status. What, girl? You letting everybody know you're on the market? Or is that for the police to let them know you're done with his ass? Thank you for this, Kat. She said, was interesting to me that Daniel said in text that grandma was napping in her camper. Boy, everybody was napping motherfuckers that day. And came out when she heard Daniel hollering for Lily and Jack. So where was she before? Where was she before? And Malaya's, she's footloose and fancy free, dude. Lily and Jack, she can nap all she wants. Her mom's taking care of Meadow. They live with her mom. Seems to me that she's looking for a new pogo stick. Getting herself all dressed up and shit.
Don't forget she removed every picture of Daniel off her Facebook page and left pictures where the kids looked happy and healthy. Majority of the pictures were old and way before Daniel and Malaya had a baby together. Ever since that first interview, the mother has chosen to remain silent and has lawyered up. She won't speak to the media, even though she believes her children were abducted. Make that make sense?
That's actually a great point. Good morning, Robin. She was the one that was saying, I want an Amber Alert, I want an Amber Alert, I want an Amber Alert. They were abducted. So if you believe that your children are out there and they are with a stranger or someone that has it out for you, whatever you want to call it, wouldn't you be all over the news? Wouldn't you be calling the police every day? I mean, I would. I wouldn't be messing with changing relationship statuses. Lori Green said, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. Yes, in a court of law, but I'm not running a court of law. We are having a conversation and talking about what we think possibly could have gone wrong because these two babies are missing. And I just think it's really sad that some people will go way out of their way to normalize child neglect as opposed to calling out what is as plain as the nose on their face. They're missing for a month.
That is her theory. Her children were abducted. She never pleaded for their safe return, offered a reward, or anything. She's not put up posters for them. The new text messages that emerged, if true, are extremely telling as well. Daniel's mother says Malaya had a worried look on her face, like she got caught doing something wrong, instead of tears, and worried that the children are missing.
Now, this is interesting. Mom came out and said Malaya had a look of worry in her eyes that mom was home. No tears. She wasn't scared the kids were gone, just a look of worry, like she got caught for something wrong. Remember, this is their perception of what was going on around them. It can't be my opinion. It can't be my perception because I wasn't there.
Through are extremely telling as well. Daniel's mother says Malaya had a worried look on her face, like she got caught doing something wrong, instead of tears, and worried that the children are missing. These are just a few of the red flags that I have observed in the mother's behavior. There are strangers advocating for her missing children all over social media, more than she is. It's just a very sad case. Heartbreaking that Lily and Jack are still missing, and we are almost at the 1-month mark already.
Well, we are at the 1-month mark now. Joe Law said, I don't have a theory. I've got so many running through my head. I can't. Personally, I don't go to foul play right off the bat. It doesn't make sense to me. Too many adults around. The story doesn't make sense. Joe Law said, I don't have a theory. There's no evidence of anything that we know of. That we know of. They're not going to show their hand. The police are not going to. She said, I believe the parents, though, and as a Canadian who could be in their situation, I support them, both of them. Don't you think it would be better if they would support each other? Really? Daniel and Malaya are fighting like cats in a pillowcase right now. Changing Facebook statuses, getting kicked off the property. Hey, the more soldiers in the army, the easier it is to win the war. But they're fighting amongst themselves. And this family feud, I think, was going on way before these children went missing. Definitely. Now let's take a look at what Malaya said. Okay, remember, evil exists, just talked about the red flags, and we can't deny that.
Staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. What happened was we woke up. I heard them playing in the next room beside us. And I was drifting in and out of sleep. And they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them. And they happen to just get out that sliding door and we can't hear it when it opens. And they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time. And
against my better judgment, I'm going to talk about the damn sliding glass door again. Okay? She says they're in their room. Daniel had said they kept telling the kids to get out so they could sleep. So be it. She says they can't hear the sliding glass door, and that's how they got out. He says that they have to remind them all the time to shut the door. So you're telling me that day they shut the door. That is really strange to me. But anytime someone goes missing, I don't care if it's an adult, a child, an elder adult, it's always something unusual going on. Something always unusual. And I have said it in many, many, many other cases. I don't care who you are. You're not an octopus. You're not an owl where your head spins around. Okay? As parents, we take showers. We grab the phone. We're up cooking dinner for the kids. We can't have our eyes on our children at all times. This is not the scenario. They chose to send them away so they could lay in bed and sleep. We're not talking about, hey, sit right here and watch Elmo while I go take a shower and don't get up until I get out. It doesn't work that way. And all the perfect parents in these cases that say, I watch my kids all the time. I watch my kids all the time. Oh, really? So you go to school with them? Really? when they're playing with their friends and you get some time to yourself, you make sure you're right there while they're having a play date? No, you're not. This is not the case. This is not what was happening. They purposely sent Jack and Lily out of the room so they could sleep.
And they happen to just get out that sliding door and we can't hear it when it opens. And they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time. And the next thing we knew, it was quiet. And we get up and I tell him, my partner, Daniel, I tell him, do you hear?
Okay, Daniel spoke about her interview. He knows her pretty well. They've been together several years. Again, they're fighting amongst each other. Strange, but they are. He said he was very much taken aback that she called him her partner. Because for all intents and purposes, they are definitely a couple. They have a child together. They've been raising her children together. He also found it strange that she doesn't use their names and that she will not talk to him at all. Look, on paper, it looks bad, my friends. On paper, it looks bad.
Partner, Daniel, I tell him, do you hear the kids? And he says, no. And we get up instantly. We're looking outside. We're looking everywhere, yelling for them. And I instantly just call 911. I just had the instinct I needed to call. They're both really go-lucky children. They're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone in a store. Everyone.
This is what bothered Daniel, her saying them, and not their names. Okay? That could be it. And I know some people are saying, listen, it's okay for parents to sleep in. Listen, you got two adults there. If mom is just worn out from being up with the baby at night, or they had some friends over playing Monopoly or whatever, somebody needs to get up with the babies, okay? 6 and 4, yes, they can get into trouble. Somebody needs to make sure doors are locked, and that's it. And kids can get away from you. They're fast boogers, real quick. But if you're laying in the bed with the door shut and you're saying that you don't want to be bothered, what do you expect them to do? Hey, DC Primetime, what's up? It is a dangerous age.
They will speak to anyone in a store. Everyone. They're just extremely sweet kids. I appreciate the huge search effort going on right now. But we've been pushing for an Amber Alert, which hasn't been issued. Not just that they could possibly be abducted, which it is a possibility that they could have been, but just an alert to let everyone know that they are missing. We had people text me saying that they weren't aware someone else let them know that they were missing, and it would just be nice if everyone could be alerted. We thought maybe that we found tracks, but it's still uncertain. It's been raining and they're probably soaking wet, but with the sun today, I'm hopeful that they are feeling warm. We're all filled with pain and sorrow because we just want them found. We want them home. Everyone loves them. They are definitely verbal, and they do have possible autism, but it's not extreme autism. It's just...
Okay, that's another red flag for me. Okay? That's another red flag for me. They're extremely verbal, but they have, some form of autism is what she's trying to say, but it's undiagnosed. So again, if you think your two children are autistic, why is your sleep more important than their safety? I don't understand that. I have a nephew with autism. He's a teenager now. And no way is my family member going to say, oh no, I need some Z's, so you go and fall in the pool, or you go out on your own and get lost in a current. We had a case in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Another sleepy mama laying on her couch, and her two children got out of the apartment, went out to play. They went to what's called the Mingo Creek. Well, 5, 6, 7 days later, they washed up. And it was horrible. So she wants to make sure they're warm. Okay. She has a lot of sounds of sorrow. They both are using some past tense references. I don't know. I don't know about that. It doesn't mean they did anything to the children. But if your children are undiagnosed autistic, but you know they have something going on that needs to be looked at more, you don't send them out of the room so you can get your groove on, you can get your sleep on, you can watch Price is Right, whatever. You be an adult and get your ass out of bed.
They do have possible autism, but it's not extreme autism. It's just they have issues with school, and they don't catch up with the other kids. I just want to remain hopeful.
She should remain hopeful. I'm asking the parents in here, anytime that your children have been struggling at school, what have you done? Did you spend time with them on the subject they were having issues with? Or did you just say, they must have something wrong with them? What does an adult do?
But there's always, in a mother's mind, you're always thinking the worst. Last night was one of the worst nights because I didn't have them in their beds. And I don't want to go through that another night without them.
The way my
Whew. Sad. Sad, sad, sad. And truth is, nobody knows what they're going to do in any situation. We can always be all big talk and say, well, this is what I would do. This is what I would do. But I think we know our inerrant behaviors and how we deal with things on a day-to-day basis. Okay? DC Primetime said, I'm telling you what I did. That's what exactly. So, I don't know. I just really think if they truly just wandered off, even in that horrible terrain, by now, between dogs and drones, helicopters, all the things they've been doing, they would have come across something. A rubber boot, part of the pull-up, something. It is beyond bizarre.
These searches that are happening on the weekends are interesting to say the least. Are they based on clues or just going back to previously searched areas to make sure nothing was missing the first time? A couple of days ago, police released an update saying that they confirmed the children were last seen with family on May 1st, the day before they were reported missing. It's been said that Jack, Lily, Malaya, Daniel and baby Meadow were seen in public in New Glasgow, which is about 18 minutes away from the children's home. Seems they were seen on footage. However, the confusing part of that update is that they wanted footage all the way back from the 28th April, days before the children were reported missing. I'm wondering if that is to check for any suspicious vehicles coming into the area. The updates from the RCMP are very vague, so it's almost like we got to read between the lines.
I think they're wanting the dash cams for many reasons. One, strange people coming up and down the road, something that seems a little off. By now, they know who lives on that road. And also, they want to see what Daniel and Malaya were doing. And probably Grandma, and probably Daniel's brother. Because maybe they're not satisfied with what they have said about what was going on the week prior. And again, we don't know why they were out of school on Thursday and Friday. We know that there was no school in session on Wednesday, but they're out for this cough. Yet they're seen out on Thursday. They said with family members. Daniel confirmed it was him and the children's mom. 18 minutes away. He doesn't give much more information than that. Did they make it home? I mean, really, this is a true question. Did they make it home?
Anyway, this past weekend, another search was conducted, and the update from that search has now come in. More than 75 trained searchers from ground search and rescue organizations.
I was so glad they put this out over the weekend. Ground search efforts were underway today, June 1st, which was yesterday, in the area of Garlic Road, Lansdowne Station, as the missing persons investigation into the disappearance of Lily and Jack Sullivan continues. 78 trained searchers. Okay? This is not a bunch of goofballs just walking around smoking cigarettes, yelling their names. Okay? These are trained searchers. All right? They said including Colchester County, Pictou County, Halifax, Strait Area, East Hants, Eastern Shore, cannot pronounce that name, Pugwash, and Eastern Shore were engaged today in an effort to advance the ongoing investigation and locate Lily and Jack. Searchers continued to focus on specific areas around the road where the children disappeared from and the nearby pipeline where a boot print was previously located. A total of 8.5 square kilometers has now been grid searched. Woo! The grid search is a different animal. That's a military style search. The search was supported by Nova Scotia Public Safety, Field Communications, and EHS Emergency Preparedness Special Operations. They believe they're on that island.
Including Colchester County, Pictou County, East Hants, Halifax, Strait Area, Spring Hill and Pugwash, were engaged today in an effort to advance the ongoing investigation and locate Lily and Jack. Searchers focused on specific areas around Gairlich Road and the nearby pipeline, where a boot print was previously located. On Sunday, searchers continued to focus on specific areas around Gairlich Road and the nearby pipeline, where a boot print was previously located. A total of 8.5 square kilometers has now been grid searched. It seems that nothing of relevance was found because the update said any future searches will be determined based on the course of the investigation. I don't understand what they mean by a boot print. As in one boot print. There were 2 children. What are the odds that one boot print is linked to them?
Well, that's a good point. We have one boot print that we can only assume looks comparable to a child's foot, but you have 2 children missing. That would be 4 boot prints, correct? Unless only one stuck, and that's what they came across. It doesn't make sense to me.
Unless someone deliberately took a boot and made one print there to throw off the investigators. Seems odd to put all that effort to search that area again, based on one boot print.
Well, what he's throwing out there is that somebody put the boot print to throw them off. That actually is what happened in the case of Summer Wells. This boot print in the Summer Wells case I'm speaking of, I can't say anything about Lily and Jack. It was put down to throw people off. Lori Green said, as for Daniel and the bio grandmother, I personally don't believe all these messages unless they show their face to confirm it's them. Daniel said it's him. I know the person that he turned the text over to. So if he's lying, he's lying. That's all I can say. Don't know. Wasn't there. All right, now we're going to get to good old Dr. Grande. He studies lots of human behavior. He has had a lot of things to say about this case. And we don't have to agree with him, but his synopsis is very interesting.
Dr. Grande. Today I will analyze the case of Lily and Jack Sullivan. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the incident, then offer my analysis. Lily and Jack Sullivan lived in Nova Scotia. In 2025, Lily was 6 years old and Jack was 4 years old. Their mother, Malaya Brooks Murray, also had a younger daughter named Meadow. According to family members, the biological father of the children had no contact with them. In 2023, the family moved in with Malaya's lover, Daniel Martel. He had a modular home on Gairloch Road in Lansdowne, 16 miles south of New Glasgow. Malaya was a stay-at-home mom, and Daniel worked at a local sawmill. Daniel referred to himself as the stepfather of Lily and Jack. Now moving to the timeline of the incident. On Friday, May 2, 2025, at about 10 a.m., Malaya called 911 and indicated that Lily and Jack were missing from the home where the family lived. She woke up that morning to the sound of the children playing in the next room.
Okay, this is important. Woo! All right. Hey, Mike. He said, of course, the bio dad's aunt will slam the stepdad. She also said that bio dad isn't going to go look for the kids because he don't want to be around, quote, in quotes, those people. Woo! And has anyone noticed in all of this stuff, Daniel seems to be a bit clueless. Like, he feels like he's in like Bizarro World or something. When he said, that's not the way Malaya talks. He was taken aback when she called him partner. I really don't know why he was A-okay with his mom kicking Malaya and Meadow out and he stayed behind. I don't know. It's just all insane. They all need to come together as a very, very, very tight unit for these babies.
She fell back asleep for a few minutes. When she woke up, the children were gone. Here is what the police found during the course of their investigation. The family home is surrounded by dense forest. The backyard of the home has a dilapidated fence. In addition to the modular home, there were 2 sheds and an old recreational vehicle on the property. Based on photographs, the RV does not appear to be in working condition. Reportedly, Daniel's mother lived in the RV along with multiple cats and one dog.
Multiple cats and one dog, and look at the top of that RV. I'm not buying it. OMG. You are so right. Bio Dad doesn't want to be around those people, but he was okay his own children being around those people for like 3 years. And when it comes to Daniel, I think his, we saw this in the Crystal Rogers case, where the family was more interested in protecting the reputation of their mom than doing the right thing for Crystal. But that's on trial right now because, well, they all killed Crystal to protect the mom.
Lily and Jack attended school on Tuesday, April 29, 2025, 3 days before they went missing. Their school was called Salt Springs Elementary. It was located 11 miles from the home. There was no school on Wednesday, April 30. Their mother kept them home on Thursday, May 1 and Friday, May 2 because Lily had a cough. Due to a slowdown at the sawmill where Daniel worked, he was home on the Friday the children went missing. The authorities conducted a massive search of the area, deploying over 160 rescue personnel.
Okay, but you're going to find a lot of red flags in the way Dr. Grande, because he's very dry and sometimes a bit sarcastic. I do enjoy the way he puts things together. I truly do. Okay, so work was slow at the sawmill, so Daniel didn't go on Friday. Well, what about Thursday? Was it slow on Thursday too? And again, why were the children out of school? Now, some schools will say if your child is coughing their head off after the COVID scare and everything, we don't want them in school. But both of them? Krista, what's up, girl? She said, I have a sneaking suspicion that Daniel's mom, Janie McKenzie, may have her hands in the disappearance one way or another. I just can't shake it. It is odd. It is odd.
As well as helicopters, drones, and dog teams. They did not find Lily or Jack. On May 4, 2025, Daniel shared his thoughts with the media. He said that on the morning of the disappearance, Lily came into the bedroom a few times as Jack was playing in the kitchen. At least that's probably where Jack was. Daniel believed the children opened the sliding door in the back of the modular home and exited. Their boots were found next to that door. Daniel assumed the children left the property through the back fence. When he realized the children were gone, he climbed into his vehicle and drove around the area, but he had no success. About 10 minutes later, he returned home and searched on foot. Once again, he did not find anything. On May 5, the police stated that they did not find any evidence of an abduction. They believed that Lily and Jack wandered away from their home. On May 7, 2025, the police asked Daniel to turn over his cell phone. Daniel indicated that he complied with the request. This same day, the police scaled back the search operation. They had thoroughly searched a 2.1 square mile area without success. At the time I'm making this video, Lily and Jack Sullivan remain missing. The police continue to investigate this disappearance. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second. Linda said that boot print was too fresh looking to be either of the children. Also, that area was checked. Not only that they had a lot of rain, it would have not been so fresh looking. So My question to all of you fine people, my friends, do you think somebody purposely put a print there to throw off the investigation? It's just a question. Mike said, mother thinks they got abducted day one. My thoughts, they might know more than what they're saying. Yeah. Lori said, that's why I question any YouTubers that get involved in families. Dude, I haven't talked to them. They are more than welcome to come on the show and fill us in on everything. I'm not going to stop them because it's going to be a biased side. Why did the bio Grande not want questions asked about her son? Why? You mean about Daniel? Is that what you mean, hun? And please, everyone, don't be afraid to have an opinion and have a discussion. Because you don't agree with somebody in the chat, don't let people censor you into what you think. We're talking about two little children.
Item number 1. Based on information which has been made available about the disappearance of Lily and Jack, some people suspect foul play. They don't buy the story about the children wandering into the woods. The authorities ask the public to refrain from jumping to conclusions or sharing unverified information. They are worried this could complicate the effort to find the children. If Lily and Jack did wander into the forest, it is very unlikely they are still alive. This may explain why the police have scaled back the search effort. It is a body recovery mission at this point. The police indicated that there is no evidence of an abduction, but there is no way to know if they are telling the truth. It's possible they have found evidence but don't want to give away information out of fear of jeopardizing the investigation. Item number 2, Lansdowne, where the children lived, is a rural area of Nova Scotia. Only about 100 people live there. Many have been there for generations and are related to one another. The area does not have cell phone service, and many of the homes are in poor condition. There are an excessive quantity of ticks, and swarms of flying insects regularly harass anyone standing outside. This is not the type of place that is visited frequently by outsiders. There really isn't anything of interest in Lansdowne. Their tourism numbers are probably abysmal.
Never Give Up said, I don't think these babies wandered into the woods, just my opinion. Lori said, no, the bio Grande, the father of the kid's mother. Oh, yeah, she's been speaking out a lot. She doesn't want anybody bringing her son into it. Jeremiah said, I suspect kidnapping. Today's a month. And they're still saying no abduction. So their investigation, their evidence, their forensics, what they have going on is saying they weren't abducted. But I see where you're coming from. Thank you, Joe Law. She said, I'd like to know why they want trail cam footage, looking for creeps in the woods. If they wandered out in the woods and this lady has 7 trail cams, they could be seeing if there's some damn hillbillies hanging around out in the woods that could possibly have grabbed 2 children that were deciding to play in the woods one day. And any mom or dad that says, my children would never, is out of their minds. Let me tell you why. The minute we say, oh, my kids would never do that, the kids say, hold my beer. All right? Like another reason that I very rarely talk about the Sebastian Rogers case, because I'm telling you what, there's some really crazy people that follow that case. There's some real crazy people. They really want us to believe that at 15 years old, he never got on the internet, that he only used his phone to call his mom. That's insane. Kids are unpredictable. And at this age, I have said it for years because I've experienced it. It's a dangerous age. Kids will jump out of trees. They think that they're like Bruce Willis in that movie Unbreakable.
Terrain surrounding the modular home where Lily and Jack lived is very inhospitable. The vegetation is thick, the ground is uneven, and there are many trees which were knocked down due to a recent storm. It's hard to imagine that a 6-year-old girl and a 4-year-old boy could have made it too far under those conditions. This brings me to item number 3. There are really only 2 theories about what could have happened to Lily and Jack Sullivan. Theory number 1 is that they wandered into the surrounding heavily wooded area and somehow disappeared from the face of the planet. Theory number 2 is that foul play was involved. Someone took the children. This could be a relative, a friend, or a stranger. Because there are only 2 theories, if one theory is true, the other theory must be false. With this in mind, let's take a look at the evidence both for and against the idea that theory number 1 is true. The children wandered into the woods and no one else was involved. I will start with the factors that support this theory. Based on the statements made by the children's mother, Malaya, and the man who identified himself as the children's stepfather, Daniel, it seems as though Lily and Jack simply walked away from the family home. There were no indications of a kidnapping. For example, Malaya and Daniel did not mention anyone in the area, they did not hear a vehicle, they did not hear anyone screaming, and there was no physical evidence supporting a kidnapping. Whatever happened, it was silent, which is inconsistent with an abduction. The authorities indicated there was no evidence of foul play, which of course only leaves wandering away as an explanation. It seems unlikely that an aspiring kidnapper would have randomly stumbled upon the children in such a rural area. If the kidnapper was a stranger and intended to take the children, how would they have even known about the children in order to target them? Kidnapping by a stranger in a rural area in Canada is pretty much unheard of. It is technically possible, but statistically extremely unlikely. A kidnapping perpetrated by someone who knew the children would be more likely, like
a friend of the family, someone living right there on the property. Look at the statistics. I'm not talking about the human trafficking out of Halifax Harbor, but of an actual somebody driving down an unpopulated road, randomly seeing 2 children and decide to grab them. It's not impossible, but it's enough for the police to say, no, this does not fit the criteria for an Amber Alert. Oh, fun to ski. Thank you, girlfriend. Look at that. Gifted 10 Crime Lines and Lies memberships. You all get your umbrellas. Welcome, new members. You'll love it here. I'm telling you what, our members' lives are a hoot. And we got a big one coming next week because guess what? Your old buddy Brooks is having a birthday. So a week from this Thursday, we're having a big one. A big one. Now, the question is, do we really know how long Jack and Lily were missing? Yes, we know they were seen on camera on Thursday. Okay, so they heard them outside Friday morning, and then, according to Malaya, immediately called 911 when they weren't outside. Okay, police got there fast. So if they're out in the woods, there would be fresh scent. Yes, I watched the show Forensic Files. There would be fresh scent, and they can't move that fast. They can't walk over these logs, so on and so forth. Anything we're thinking, the investigators have already thought of and investigated. If you think we're stumped, they certainly are. Lisa A., me love you long time. Thank you for the super sticker.
A family member or friend, but this is still a low probability event. Now moving to the factors that contradict the theory that the children wandered away. The authorities almost certainly searched every area the children could have realistically reached on foot, yet they found nothing. Maybe one of the children could have hidden effectively, but what are the chances that both children would have been able to conceal themselves from trained search personnel? What motive would the children have for leaving their home on foot? The children's mother indicated they were not the type of kids to go outside alone. It is extremely unusual for children to venture into the wilderness. So one moment they were playing, and the next moment they decided to walk away from their home. It just doesn't make any sense. While it is unlikely they wandered off, it is even more unlikely they left the home with some type of purpose. At 6 and 4 years of age, they did not run away, like their mission wasn't to start new lives with fabricated identities. After Lily and Jack went missing, their mother left the area and blocked Daniel on social media. Did she blame Daniel for something? There's no way to know for certain, but it looks suspicious. Lily and Jack went missing on Friday, May 2, 2025, but had not been in school since Tuesday. The school was closed on Wednesday, but they were also kept home on Thursday and Friday, supposedly due to Lily being sick with a cough. If Lily was sick, why would she venture outside? Either way, it seems suspicious that the children would disappear after missing school. It points to this idea that Lily and Jack were missing for a few days prior to when they were reported missing. Was everyone in this situation really telling the truth? When considering all the evidence in this case, do I believe the children wandered off? Is Theory 1 the most probable explanation? In my opinion, no. Theory 1, while certainly not impossible, does not strike me as the most probable explanation. The idea that two small children.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Jeremiah said, did dogs track to the woods? I can show you the news clip we went through last week before, where they definitely had dogs out in the woods. The problem is they weren't picking up a scent. So, of course, they're going to run the dogs into the woods.
Certainly not impossible, does not strike me as the most probable explanation. The idea that two small children, one of them reportedly sick, ventured alone into dense, inhospitable, insect-infested woods, leaving no trace of their journey even after a large-scale search, is incredibly difficult to believe. This only leaves theory number 2. Foul play was involved. This theory doesn't necessitate a stranger's involvement, but perhaps someone familiar with the children was involved, like a family member or a friend. Both theories, the children wandering off or the children being abducted, are statistically unlikely, but one of them must be true. When weighing the relative probabilities involved, I believe that theory number 2 is a better fit to the data. It would not surprise me if the police were looking.
I love that word, a theory to the data, because the data shows they didn't wander off. The data shows for that province, maybe the entire country of Canada, the criteria does not fit a stranger abduction. Deb No Name, what's up, girl? She said, 1 day a week, Daniel was scheduled to work. Yeah, 1 day a week. Okay? 1 day a week. But work was slow on the day that Lily and Jack went missing. Okay? Me and Comrie are going to be partying up like it's 1999 on the 12th of June because it's her birthday too. Love you, Comrie. Jeremiah said, so the dogs tracked to the end of the driveway and then into the woods? No, boyfriend, I think you're missing what they've been saying. They had their scent, obviously, where they live and to the end of the driveway. They found nothing in the woods. They couldn't track a scent in the woods. They did a grid search to where they have found no traces of the children except for this one random boot print. Follow along, man.
Looking closely at people familiar with Lily and Jack Sullivan. They have suggested that the children are lost somewhere in the woods, but perhaps the real answer is not buried in the forest. Rather, it's a little closer to home. Those are my thoughts on the case of Lily and Jack Sullivan. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. One concept that comes up quite a bit when dealing with mysterious disappearances is the idea of relative probabilities. I talked about that a little bit in this case. For children to go missing under these circumstances, like we see in the case of Lily and Jack Sullivan, this is extremely unlikely. This is what's called a low probability event. So if someone were to look across a wide geographic area with a lot of population, they would not see this happening hardly ever. So just the fact that it occurred is an unlikely event actually happening, right? So it's important to start the analysis by acknowledging that something unlikely did happen. Whatever the explanation, something...
Hold on. Deb No Name has an amazing point. Hence why I love when we get together and talk about these things, because we all see things differently and we pick up on other things. Deb said, well, wasn't it a Friday morning when they went missing? Yes, that's what we have heard for the last month. So if he had to be at work, why didn't he go? Why wasn't he up and ready to go to work? And what's this? Work was too slow at the sawmill, so he didn't go in that day. Or was something else going on?
Very unlikely actually did occur. So when looking at what could be the explanation for the event, it's important to consider that, yes, all of the explanations are low probability, but because the event actually occurred, you have to use relative probabilities. So I'll use an example here that's somewhat similar to the case that I covered of Lily and Jack Sullivan. Let's say we're just looking at one child who went missing, and we know that this is a low probability event. We know it's unlikely that a child will go missing. And we start to look at the possible explanations, and we come up with two theories. One involves no foul play. The child wandered off on his own and just disappeared. The other theory involves there was foul play. Someone, no one knows who, but someone took the child. Now, the idea that there's no foul play is low probability, but so is the idea that there is foul play. Both are low probability, but we have to consider the relative probabilities because the event occurred. The child is actually missing. So say that we do the math and we compute that the chance of no foul play is 40%, and the chance of foul play is 60%. Well, 60% is more likely. That's just how the math works. So that is the likely explanation, even though it is low probability. Again, you have to use the probabilities that are available in the frame. It doesn't make any sense to treat the event as if it never occurred. Something unusual occurred. Now we have to deal with the explanations which are available. Over the years, covering true crime cases, I've seen a lot of prosecutors and defense attorneys who don't seem to understand the idea of relative probabilities. They talk about events using terms as if the event never occurred. So they might say, well, there's only a one.
But the police look at probabilities. And when you have a massive search for two little children, 6 and 4, and dogs that are trained to scent a missing person, particularly a child, okay? If they get absolutely no scent, and look, it's not like they have my cat OJ out there looking. These are trained dogs. That is a problem. So we have a very chaotic environment between Daniel, the mom, Daniel's mom, okay, and their mom, because let's look at it. They go missing on May 2nd, and she's booted the next day. Hold on, Jeremiah said, yeah, but you didn't see what my question proves. If dogs track to the end of the driveway and nowhere else, wouldn't that be proof that they were abducted at the end of the driveway? Not according to the police. Not my investigation. According to the police, there is no criteria for an Amber Alert or abduction.
One in a million chance of this, or a 1 in a billion.
And they have never reported the rate of scent. They have never reported that. And they had rubber boots on that day. So the rate of scent could have been from previous days before.
Chance of that. But that's not really the case when the number of possible explanations has been narrowed and again the event actually occurred. So it's an area that's very challenging sometimes, I think, for people to understand. And I think when people are arguing back and forth about it and debating what could have happened, it's important to keep in mind that the only thing that matters is how likely an explanation is as compared to the other explanations. That's what matters once a child has already gone missing or any low probability event has already occurred. Now, specifically looking at the case of Lily and Jack Sullivan, it's important to keep in mind when evaluating the likelihood of an explanation, how many steps are necessary to complete any particular event. For example, when looking at the wandering off theory, a few things had to happen. There are some coincidences there. So the children had to silently exit out of a sliding glass door. That's pretty unlikely. So that event by itself, that action by itself, would not normally happen, right? Usually when children leave a residence, they make noise. They might say something, they might be screaming or yelling, they might be talking to each other, they might bang into stuff, they might bang the door. There's some type of commotion that goes along with that. To do so silently almost makes it seem like they had intent, which is extremely unlikely, like they were sneaking out at the ages of 6 and 4. So that event, that action, is low probability. Now, once they're in the backyard, as I mentioned, there was this dilapidated fence around the modular home's backyard. Wasn't in good shape. It looks like it would be pretty easy to defeat for someone of any age. But still, I imagine that on prior occasions, those children had played in the backyard. They were accustomed to the idea that the backyard was their domain. They were not to leave the backyard. They may have viewed those woods as scary and inhospitable, which would be an accurate way to think about them. Yet, here we see another unlikely event.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Jeremiah has a question. He wants to know if Kat is an expert in canines. Yeah, she's got 2 that live with her right now. Their names are Chip and Tigger, and she has brought them in to get them ready for their next deployment. And she has done this all over United Kingdom and Greece. So she knows a little something about it. Not saying she's writing a book, not saying she's an expert, Jeremiah. So I'm not sure what your training is with canines. Okay, back to my dude.
Looks like it would be pretty easy to defeat for someone of any age. But still, I imagine that on prior occasions, those children had played in the backyard. They were accustomed to the idea that the backyard was their domain. They were not to leave the backyard. They may have viewed those woods as scary and inhospitable, which would be an accurate way to think about them. Yet, here we see another unlikely event. unlikely action. They somehow move through the fence. Now, again, I don't think that would be physically difficult, but I think that there would be a barrier as far as their thinking and maybe their emotions, like fear. So they open a gate or climb under the fence or climb over the fence or whatever they did. And now they have to make another decision. So there was some.
I see where Dr. Grande's coming from for them to get out of the yard. Okay, fine by me. But this does not look like a really safe environment, okay? It doesn't look like a very safe environment. And there's holes in that fence that a child can get through. So I don't think them getting off of the property is the big question mark we have. I think the question mark we have is, why is there no scent in the woods? Why is the mother not speaking? Why is their own biological father not speaking? Daniel said very early on that they were told to never cross that road. Now, I was told, not because I live there, remember, I was told this, that there is a creek across the street. Okay? And this to me looks like a busy road. Truck drivers go up and down it, you name it. My first assumption has always been they've gotten in the water somehow. But if they can't find them in the water, what does that leave us with?
Area around the backyard outside the fence. This was like a wide open area surrounded by woods. The fence really wasn't that large. There was a lot of space between the fence and the woods. So they could have stayed there. They could have stayed there and wandered around the outside of the fence, maybe gone to the front of the modular home, maybe walked over to the broken down RV or whatever that was, maybe walked out to the street. That wouldn't be safe, but they could have done that. Instead, again, under theory number one, they decided to walk into the woods. This is rough terrain. It would be hard to navigate, especially at their ages, again, 6 and 4 years old. They're not physically strong. They're not tall. They'd have trouble reaching their legs over the different obstructions like branches on the ground and all that. It just seems really unusual they would decide to move into that wooded area. And then, even if they did, to go in beyond, say, 5 or 10 feet, or even 50 feet, to go way in, to go so far in that over 160 rescue personnel could not find them. That just seems really unlikely. Like, that's another event that is low probability. So we have exiting out of the sliding door, deciding to exit the backyard, then moving from the area around the backyard into the woods, and then deciding to go into the woods so far they can't be found. So when doing the math and kind of looking at the total probability through the lens of the different steps, it's clear that this is something that really should not have happened. Like, it puts it in a new perspective to think about all the steps. Now, when thinking about the other theory, theory number two, I mean, that's just the decision of somebody to commit a crime. That happens all the time. There would not necessarily be a lot of low probability actions that had to conspire for that to occur. It could have just been one person deciding they were going to do something awful.
Here we go. Here we go. Passion flower. Okay, Jeremiah, there's no reason to fight with anybody in here. Your questions have been answered. Okay, let's just please keep with Jack and Lily. Okay? Passion flower. Thank you. Common sense. Kids eat. Kids always want a snack. Kids always want to know what's for lunch, what's for dinner. Need a Capri Sun. Need a Go-Gurt. You name it. They would be so hungry and thirsty that they would start crying and somebody would have heard them. And we know Lily, she can scream. And sound carries in the woods. So both of them aren't going to get hurt all at once in the woods. What the hell is really going on? Let's think back. Some of you have young children right now. I have to rewind in my mind. Hey, trees. We all got to eat. We all have to have something to drink. Even after just a few hours, they're timed in their mind on when it's time to eat, when it's time to grab a snack, the whole 9 yards. Jola saw Daniel did say he was running through waterways deep. One could have fallen in and the other tried to grab them and fell in too. That's totally possible. That honestly has been what I have thought from the beginning. But the fact that they have searched these waterways and came up with nothing, no scent in the woods from the dogs, I just go to water. I really don't want to blame the parents. I don't, because police haven't said that they're suspects, persons of interest, anything like that. I do have an issue with all of these things that point to just basic neglect. And that doesn't sit well on my tummy. Have I told my kids, sit in front of the TV while I wash, this dye out of my hair real quick? Yep. Have I told the boys, stay right here while I go inside and potty? Yep. Have I said, sit there because I got to talk to your teacher? Yep. Yeah. But to say, her words, they're undiagnosed autistic, they can't keep up in school. Well, that's something you're admitting to right there. You're admitting that you don't help them with their schoolwork. Hey, man, when they say it takes a village, it takes a village. And the chief is always mom and dad. So I'm not expecting any parent to get a damn chip in their kid's neck like it's a cat or a dog. But if your children are sick and they're undiagnosed autistic, then you get your ass out of bed. You can sleep when you're dead, home skillet.
That's it. So when looking at it that way, I think that provides even more justification for this idea that theory number 2 is the more likely explanation. I don't know what happened. It could have been either theory. It could have been some theory that I didn't cover, right? It could have been aliens coming down from outer space. I don't know. I don't know what happened. But when just looking at the 2 theories I've been working with, theory number 2 has a stronger position in terms of likelihood, in my opinion. So this is a case where I think it'll be interesting to see what the police find. What do they know now that they're not sharing, if anything? What will they find in the future? What will the explanation be? Clearly, this case has a bad outcome either way. It doesn't look too good for Lily and Jack Sullivan.
No. And we can agree with that. It just doesn't look good anywhere you look. I was very hopeful when I first heard about the case. I'm like, oh, they're going to find them. They're out in those woods somewhere. They will find them. Man, I hope they're not, no one's hit their head. They're not dehydrated. They're not too scratched up. An animal hasn't gotten them. But now it's been a month. Something's not right. Something is not right. Let me look at the poll. What do we have here? Woo! I said, what do you think happened? 6% of you said wandered off. 82% said foul play. Remember, we're not pointing out the parents. It's some kind of foul play. 12% said abducted. Woo! Woo! The poll is very telling for sure, Britt. And Well, and look at that. Suds got a membership. Suds is back. What to do? So, Suds, I'm going to put you in the hot seat. I'm going to put the link down. This is your corner of the world. What do you think happened to the children? Remember, we're having a discussion here. We don't have badges with law enforcement. But if Suds is too busy, I totally understand. The link is up. The link is up. Danielle said accident due to neglect and cover up. That's a theory a lot of people have. Because remember, we're talking about 2 children. 2. That's 2 children abducted at the same time in the morning. I really thought over the weekend they would come up with something because that was a very surprise search. Well, you guys, please make sure you hit your reminder because we're going to be live again tomorrow morning talking about the case of Summer Wells out of East Tennessee. A lot of you have brought up the similarities between Lily and Jack and Summer Wells, and it's going to be quite an interesting show because, well, I'll just save it for tomorrow. But we're live and shit every day at 9 a.m. Central Time, and you guys always have the best comments. Y'all were blowing my mind today. Things that never even crossed my mind, which isn't saying much because your hostess with the mostest, her elevator doesn't always go straight to the top. Sud said, I'll do it tomorrow if you want. Sure, come on up. You guys are the absolute best. Thank you for being here. Today's a good day to do something nice for a child. Share Jack and Lily's poster because we don't know where the hell they could be. You all are the absolute best. I will see you back here tomorrow morning. Keep the peace, keep the faith, and keep being the awesome you that you are.